All right. Hello, everyone. We welcome you to our broadcast today. The topic that we will talk about today is my fingerprint. All right. Welcome again to our progress where we infuse purpose, invigorate minds, and ignite change. The topic today is my fingerprint. I am Terrence Johnson, the life excavator.
I'm Kendrick Bailey, the life doctor.
And I'm Jeffrey Hart, the life champion.
Okay. So today we'll talk about fingerprints. And so if you think about your fingerprint, everybody has them, but everybody's is unique to their own self. So my fingerprint is not like Henry's fingerprint and not like Jeffrey's fingerprint. And so that is something that one helps to identify us, but it also distinguishes us from each other. So a lot of times when you want to get a good uh, identification on somebody, you do fingerprints, or you go to a job, you're applying for a job, they run your fingerprints to identify you. One of the things that I was thinking about as it relates to fingerprints is like, depending on what kind of phone you got. If you got a smartphone or whatever, your phone probably has a fingerprint identification scanner. And so, if you, depending on the angle that you put it, sometimes it doesn't recognize it. Or if Jeffrey has his phone and I try and put my fingerprint on his phone, it won't work. So I was thinking to start with the angle. What if things are not going right in our life because we're trying to put our fingerprint on things that are not identified with us? And so we keep getting locked out because it's not for us to unlock. It might be for somebody else.
Hmm.
I'm writing this down. Fingerprint on things that don't identify with us.
Hmm.
I don't
Okay.
know. First thing that I think about, with the fingerprint or, using your fingerprint to open the phone,
Hmm.
first thing you have to do, you have to uh, set it in order to do that.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I guess what you're saying is, so if we haven't set up the process or set up things that we need, it doesn't matter if we put our finger, well, like I say, if you put your fingerprint on something that you haven't worked through or you haven't set up, then it won't work.
Hmm. Hmm. So, okay. So I'm linking what you were saying. So that's a good point as far as not going through the setup of the process. But also we may be, when you go through the process, you kind of have to go and put your fingerprint down a few times for it to
Mm,
read fully.
Mm.
So sometimes we may want to identify ourselves too quickly and we rush through the process. So then when we do unlock, it might not be what we fully want it to be because we rush through the process. Because we like, I just need to come on, I need to go and get the phone so I can go. You want to get in here? I
mm,
need to make sure I need to do something. I need to go on and verify. So,
Mhm.
but I like their point as far as the process.
mm,
And then also, when you haven't set it up or when you're trying to put your fingerprint on something and it's not working, you get real frustrated, with the process.
Mm-hmm.
But like you say, that's because you're trying to rush it. But if you take your time and you put it on there right the first time,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll go, then they'll go ahead and open up for you.
Yeah. And I was thinking this another angle to it. So, on our phones, we have multiple ways to unlock our phone. So maybe my fingerprint is not working, but I use another way to get in. So I'll find my own way to work through it, even though my fingerprint is the thing that really should unlock it for me. So I'll force my way in another way.
Mm. So that kind of brings up the piece for to me is how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll elaborate. How bad do you want it? If it's multiple ways to get in, and you know it doesn't recognize your fingerprint,
Mm-hmm.
then you can put in your passcode, or I think me and you talked about this. There's also face recognition.
Mm-hmm.
But also when it comes to using our fingerprint to identify things, our fingerprints are unique only to us.
Mm-hmm.
And your fingerprint, if it's your unique way of doing or identifying things, it allows your unique qualities to take form in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times the reason that we don't get to where we're going is because we're using somebody else's fingerprint as the blueprint for our lives. And so when we learn that everybody has their own individual take on things, that's when we start to carve out our own lane. But
Mm-hmm.
remember, everybody possesses something unique about themselves, and it's important to connect with the unique parts of yourself if you're gonna do the things you were destined to do.
Okay. All right. So what you said, it kind of linked to one of the definitions. So fingerprint, an impression or mark made on a surface by a person's fingertip, especially as used for identifying individuals from a unique pattern of whorls or and lines. That word kind of hard to say. So what you were saying is because each one of us have a unique fingerprint, then we shouldn't be trying to use somebody else's.
Mm,
Or you can look at it from a different standpoint. When we were younger, we had to do our fingerprint, and you know, they take our hand, put it in the ink, and then we smash our finger down, and then we roll it to make a good imprint. So if that's what my fingerprint is used to, its purpose is to make an imprint, then how can I make an imprint with somebody else's fingerprint?
So what you'll get is a faulty, you'll get a faulty process or product by using somebody else's fingerprints,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it won't align 100%, or it won't align with the track or course of your life. It may get you to a certain part in the process, but it's not gonna take you the full distance.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can put on, with technology, they have, latex that people can put it on their hands, and it can mimic, you know, other people's fingerprints if they get that impression.
Mm-hmm.
And, they can break the code to get into other things. And a lot of times that's what, we're doing. We found cheat codes to, use to, get ahead in some areas of our lives, but it's not meant, or it doesn't match, I guess, the story for our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about like Mission Impossible type stuff when they use all those type of things.
Yeah, because I Jeffrey, you go, and then I got some.
Now I was going to just ask. So, is it ever a point where it's beneficial to use someone else's fingerprint to, I guess, crack into something?
So for me, what I'm gonna say is no, because that's the imposter within. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel like to get ahead, you got to be somebody else. You got to wear somebody else is DNA or wear somebody else's fingerprints to get ahead. Because then it's not your own path. You're forcing the process. And we do that a lot now. So it's not that we don't do it. We've all have been guilty of forcing the process, but as we go through it, we understand through the results that it wasn't necessarily meant to be for us.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something you said before about the cheat codes. So
Mhm.
that back in the day, that made me think about video games and stuff. You know, you used to have the game genie and all that kind of stuff. Had a cheat code. Yes,
Mhm.
some of y'all don't know about that life, but
Up, down, left, right. A, B, A,
Yeah,
B, C.
yeah.
yeah.
If you're an '80s baby, if you were '80s baby, at least you know about it.
Yeah, you
'80s
know
and
the
beyond.
cheat code. Yeah, you know some cheat code. But I was thinking about it in context of what you were saying. I guess what would be some examples of cheat codes that people use to kind of use somebody else's fingerprint?
All right. So, an example of cheat code. Um, so I guess for instance, um, sometimes we can get recommendations from
Mm-hmm.
people to get us into a place because we know it's easy for them to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like name dropping, because I'm affiliated with this, crew or this person, I can get into the club. You
Uh-huh.
know, in this club, maybe a members only, or this club, might not be for me. But since I dropped that name, I can get in. Now, when I get on the inside, hmm, I might be uncomfortable and it might not feel right because I know I'm not supposed to be there, but I
Right.
got in because of somebody else's name.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. What about this? So I think about, I got to take it to sports, man. I think about MJ and Kobe and
Mm-hmm.
how Kobe, patterned his game after MJ. So can we say that Kobe kind of took MJ's fingerprint and used it to, pattern his game after MJ? Is that kind of the same thing?
Mm,
I would. I think
that's
for
it.
me, I would say he was more. It wasn't that he was trying to take MJ
Yeah,
fingerprint. He was influenced by it, but
yeah,
I don't think he was trying to make it his. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because I think both of them have a certain type of personality where they are themselves. so,
oh
so
yeah, they full-fledged them.
yeah, he's feeling themselves. So I don't believe it was that from Kobe's standpoint. He was influenced heavily by MJ. Yeah, he was, but
Hmm.
I believe that. I guess just to go back to just what happened with his death, and then how the reaction was about that. If he was more of just a copy or a clone of MJ, I don't think the impact would have been the same. But because he was himself, his own individual person, his death made an imprint on people. You
Yeah,
know,
and then I would say Kobe is unique because Kobe was ready for the spotlight and built for the spotlight before Jordan was. So yeah, Kobe kind of imitated or mimicked some of Jordan move because everybody wants to imitate or mimic the great. But what Kobe knew, he was at that level, I think, before Jordan knew, and I think that's what was unique about him in regards to his fingerprint. He was one of the first people of the modern NBA that knew he was who he thought he was.
mm-hmm.
So he envisioned who he was and accepted it way faster than most people do. I don't think he ever struggled with imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah,
Not on the court.
yeah, yeah. But I think another angle to look at it too is that I believe Kobe had a different transition from professional career to life.
Yeah, that's where he dealt with
I
imposter
think
syndrome.
that, yeah, so I think that's what distinguished more of his fingerprint outside of
Hmm.
basketball. I think uh he had more of an acceptance of himself outside of just being an NBA player. And
Yeah.
he building that outside of that. I think MJ is still directly tied to basketball when people think about him. But I think Kobe was establishing himself outside of that. Even though people knew him in his career and they appreciated what he did in his career, I think he was separating from that. And that was a phase, and he was another
Hmm.
phase.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan really did that, that kind of
Yeah.
did from his career. Like,
Yeah. And when I think about, and I add another piece to Kobe, what you were just talking about, you was kind of talking about he never really knew who he, to almost to a certain degree, he never got a chance to be fully who he wanted to be outside of
mhm,
basketball because he was almost trapped in character of being, a basketball, player or being the great. And so it was hard for him to, find the unique qualities he possessed to a certain degree outside of the
mhm,
sports arena. You know,
mhm,
he knew who he was destined to be on the court way before time. The transition is for establishing his fingerprint and carving out his own unique perspective took a little longer after basketball.
mhm,
Um, and I think the transition for him to start looking to his next steps is when he got hurt. That's when he had to really look at, all right, I'm not going to always be able to do this. How do I transition and
mhm.
find the unique qualities about me?
All right. So I want to go to the next definition and then we can kind of go to the next phase. So a distinctive identifying characteristic. So this is something that I asked to everybody. So what do you believe is your distinctive identifying characteristic? Like if somebody wanted to know you and what your fingerprint represents, like what does your imprint leave with people?
Um, I
Hmm.
mean, if I had to say one thing, I think the imprint that I want to leave with people is that I want everybody to be great, but everybody to dig below the surface of themselves and connect with who they are at the core, and tap into the uniqueness and embrace it about themselves. And I think that helps them connect with the purpose of the story for their lives. I don't know if that necessarily answered the question though.
I mean, it was kind of like that. I mean, what part do you feel like you didn't answer?
Well, I didn't, so I didn't know kind of what angle you were looking for, so that's why I said I don't know if I necessarily answered it.
No, I mean, well, okay. So I guess that's more of a wider scope. So I
Mm,
guess in a more like narrow scope, like what what quality? So you kind of talked about what kind of outcome, but like
mm,
what specific quality or characteristic that you had that you feel like that's your unique imprint.
mm. I think that just the ability to connect and see people for who they are.
Okay.
Mm, I would say, I guess giving off good vibes. You know,
Okay.
you never want to leave a bad vibe on someone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I guess for me, I I believe my imprint is to be, I won't say unconventional. That's not really the word I want to use. It's another word I want to say. I just can't think of it right now. But it's,
Unorthodox.
well, I mean, it could be that too. I I believe what I want my imprint to be is that I did things in a way that was different than other people, but the people that connected to it knew it was my fingerprint on it. They were like, oh, that's something that Chance would do. Like that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that then becomes my imprint of not doing things the traditional way.
So for
Um,
people, so I guess so people to know and appreciate your process.
yeah, I mean, because some of it's kind of like what both of y'all said too. I mean, like I like to have a good time and all that kind of stuff and keep good energy around me too. Uh, so that's part of it, but I think the core thing is that. Um, so yeah.
Okay, but
Okay.
I think the unorthodox and unique, I think that goes together because I think that's something that all of us are doing right now. We're tapping into the unique parts of ourselves,
Hmm.
and it may go against what everybody else is doing, but you still stay true to the craft of following your unique path or pattern.
Hmm.
And so I guess embracing being different, where as so many people try to blend in
Yeah.
and kind of stay strong in the pack. you know I think teaching people that it's okay to be away from the pack and to fall, or to go fully into your uniqueness or what's different,
Hmm.
because that's when you're gonna really find out who you are at the core. When you're not with everybody else, it's when you can be comfortable being on your own.
Yeah. No, it made me think about one that it was maybe about a month ago. I was walking and you could walk with like trees and you know ducks and all that kind of stuff. And
Mm,
so it was just one day, and I wish I had the picture up I could show y'all, but it was like a group of ducks. So like 20, 30 ducks all together, and then like maybe 100 feet away was like one duck all by itself and was just chilling. It wasn't like he was lost. It was just like he was chilling doing his own thing, and then a group of ducks were just all together. And when I saw that, I was like, hmm. I was like, because sometimes that's how I feel sometimes. Because in certain instances, I know how it is to be with a group, but then I also know what it is to be comfortable being separate, too. And not that that's a bad thing. And so when you
mm,
talk about it, it just made me think about that image, about being able to kind of stand alone on your path, because and like I said, I believe we all know this to be true. As you in transition, you are in transition alone. Even though it might be people around you, only you can walk that path that you're on yourself and really know what it is. And so I think people shouldn't shy away from that if they feel like their path is leading them away from what they're used to, away from the group that they're accustomed to being around. I think that's part of it. And
mm.
so you had to be the duck. You had to be the duck that stand alone.
Yeah, and,
So I
and
guess
that's
so
when.
you would say that that would be one good strategy of figuring out what your fingerprint is to separate yourself from the group basically,
Yeah.
and get a little.
Go ahead. You had something.
I would say, yeah, just have that little alone time, or that time to yourself to figure out, what's your fingerprint, and and how you want to, leave your mark on the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're around people too long, then your fingerprints that made you unique. If somebody really wants to kind of like change their identity or kind of erase their identity, they erase their fingerprints. And
Hmm.
so if you erase your fingerprints, then it's like you no longer exist. And so if you want to make an imprint, you can't make an imprint if you always wiping away the thing that's unique about you.
Yeah.
When you said that, remind me of that scene in Men in Black.
Yep.
Uh, when Will Smith had to touch that thing and remove his fingerprints or whatever, so
Uh,
that he'll no longer be
mm,
traceable or whatever. So
yep.
Mhm.
yeah, I thought about that.
But to take it to a different level, what a lot of people have done is, in the essence, what Will did in Men in Black. They've essentially burnt off their own fingerprints to blend in with
Mm,
everybody else.
mm,
Because one of the things that we talk about our fingerprints is, you know, you have to separate yourself to find yourself and
mm,
find what's unique about you. And then it comes with the acceptance piece. Well, what a lot of people are looking to do is blend in, because being original or or different isn't what's popular. And
mm,
so if I can, somehow, you know, not be able to be identified, and I don't have anything outstanding or unique about myself that I show,
mm,
then I can almost be on autopilot and just get through life.
mm,
um and I think that's one of the disservices that we do to ourselves, because we don't understand what our fingerprints mean,
mm,
and we don't ever get to the that metamorphosis or maximize the uniqueness within until we accept who we shall be.
mm. I like what you said about to separate yourself. Oh, you must separate yourself to find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe that's an issue with a lot of people is they don't want to separate themselves because they're afraid of what they will find.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I add, most people don't think they can survive on their own. So I repeat that. Most people think they can't survive on their own. And that's why they want to blend in. And that's why they want to remove the thing that identifies the uniqueness about themselves.
Mhm. So I guess what will be because I know we've probably all been in certain situations like this or phases in life, but I know people that might be watching might be in the same predicament. So it's like, um, what would cause you to be afraid of separating yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you might be telling yourself or why you can't do it or go through with
So
it?
so one of the first thing that jumps out to me is the fear of rejection.
Okay.
So that you'll be rejected, you know, by the majority. So people don't take risks sometimes because of fear of rejection. Um, you know, sometimes is, you know, fear that they might fail if they went all the way in or took a risk on themselves. And so that's why you get a lot of people when they reach that stage in their life. I think the Erickson stages of development.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Generativity versus stagnation. When they
Mm-hmm.
hit those stages, that stage of their life around 55 to 65, and they reflect back on their life and they see all the things that they didn't do, and
Yeah.
then they want to do it. And then sometimes the people can talk about the bucket list,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that they want to do that they didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And so in life, we gotta live is action oriented. So that means we gotta do and go all in for ourselves.
Look
Uh,
at it. He's speaking
uh,
so good. The camera won't even get on him. Not the camera man.
hey, that we got to go all in for ourselves. And so sometimes we wait to the end to do what we should have done in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so either way it go, we gonna know what we should have done. So it's best that we follow the uniqueness about ourselves and do it as we live versus trying to crunch it in towards the end.
And I kind of piggyback on what you said, that fear of failure. Because think about it, okay, you separate yourself and you go out on your own to try to accomplish something, and if you fail at it, then it's like you afraid of having to go back to the pack and have everybody looking at you like, okay, yeah, you try to go out there on your own, but now look at you, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you didn't fail. So yeah, I think that's part of it too, is having, I guess, having to have that walk of shame back to the pack, and
Yeah.
get that ridicule or whatever, of
Yeah,
failing whatever.
yeah. And then I think the last piece of it, and then I'm gonna shut up because I saw this before we got on, is is people don't want to start over. You know, people fear starting over. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I saw before, we got on live is that you're not starting over when you have a setback or you don't succeed at something. You just start from experience.
Mm-hmm.
So experience has already gotten you to that point of what you know what wrong looks like. So you're starting from experience and you can take the next steps to refine the product or your process.
No, that I was thinking when you said that. So it could be that instead of thinking about you starting over, you actually starting right.
Yeah.
So it may be all the other times you thought you were starting, you really wasn't starting. You were just doing something. But when you get aligned to the thing you're supposed to do, that's when you start right. And then that's when that first step feels different than you doing it the previous times before,
Mm,
because you were doing what you thought you should do.
yeah.
But now you're informed, like you were saying, by experience. So now you're starting right with the tools and the experience that you need.
Mm. No, that's good. And it go back to the picture that you showed the other day about Jordan. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when Jordan first started out in his career, he was all about his numbers and himself for the first few years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he started right, is he realized that he needed his teammates, and that's when he started to be more successful because he
Mm-hmm.
knew he could get all the individual, statistics on his own, but he cared more about succeeding and winning as his career went on than about the individual accolades. And I think that's when he truly started. When it was about around 1989, around that time frame.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to go back to something Jeffrey said about feeling like you failed and having to go back to the pack.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of us, it's not even, it is feeling that we failed, but then also to go back to conforming to the group that we left. And I think that's the other thing we don't want to do.
Mm,
But it's it's not saying that failures won't happen, because you know we've had a plenty business
mm,
wise everything. But um I think if you frame it right and you understand that, like we're saying at the very beginning, the process. So maybe the thing that I'm thinking is failures is me getting my fingerprint recognized. So it might take a couple times for the imprint to stick. So I'm dipping it in the ink, and it's like it don't read. Okay, okay, let me get let me roll it. Let me roll because if like when you do the ink, it take a while to get it because then you had to get it right in that square and stuff, and they be like, nah, you got to do another. Like, okay, let me. And so I think it's that what we feel like a missed attempts is really just getting us to fully get our imprint down and making sure we making a full impact. So what we think might be some try, it might be just us dabbing the ink and just kind of put it like, they won't take.
Yeah.
Come on, you got.
And then you also have to, you can kind of look at it like this, your failures are your lessons. And so
Mm,
you're
Mhm.
learning how to, do the process. So like you were
mm,
saying, T, if you dip it in the ink and you don't roll it right, okay,
mm-hmm.
well now you need to learn how to roll it on there right. So even
Yeah.
though you may have
Mhm.
failed the first time to put it in the box the correct
Mm,
way, it's like, okay, all
mm,
right, now let me go back so that I can learn how to actually leave my imprint in the right
mm,
spot so it
mhm.
can be, read correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, and then when Terrence was given the visual of rolling the ink, I put down it took failing to demonstrate the winner in us. And
Mm-hmm.
so what that means is you find your unique resiliency
Mm-hmm.
in yourself by failing and then continuing to go after your dreams or what you aspire to accomplish. You know, if a person fails one time and quit, then they don't ever discover the uniqueness about themselves. If a
Mm-hmm.
person fails thousands of times in their life and they keep going, they're going to discover what's unique about them, that
Mm-hmm.
they don't give up and that they don't quit, and that obstacles are a part of the process to winning. You know, even when we play video games, it was obstacles that you had to encounter before you won the game to Super Mario Brothers. So
Yeah.
you had to, as you went throughout the game,
Mm-hmm.
each task became harder, and by failing to beat your opponent, you learn how to beat your opponent. And you had to try, yeah.
Say what you said again. Say that last part again.
By failing to beat your opponent, you
Mm-hmm.
learn how to beat your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where that experience and that starting from experience, that's an example of starting from experience. You know, it might took you 100 times to beat Super Mario, but as
Mm-hmm.
long as you beat it, you still conquered what you set out to do. And I
Mm.
think that's what people forget about the uniqueness in themselves is their innate ability to win despite the odds. Regardless if the test has been rigged, regardless if you had to start further back than everybody else, you still found who you were, and you still wasn't afraid to stand on your own.
Yeah.
Cause going back to your video game example, you got to think about it. There's levels to video games, and so when you reach certain levels, okay, if you're on this level, but you get to the point where say Super Mario, you get hit by the fireball or something like that, you
Yeah.
Mhm.
don't go back and start all the way at the beginning of the game. You
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
start from that level that you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So even though, yeah, you have to overcome obstacles to get to each level, but once you get to that certain level, okay, if you come to an obstacle and you fail, well, you just go back and you start from that same level. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, now you had that experience on this level to get
Yeah.
over that obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can keep going. Okay, I get to this one, then I keep going up, up, up like that. So so that's kind of another way to look at it. You know, you get to certain levels in life, and you know, you may come to an obstacle, then
Mm-hmm.
you may have to start over, but you're already at a higher level than what you were, you know, when you began the game to begin with.
Yeah. So to go to add to what you were saying, not only are there levels, okay, go using what you were saying, and we take it back to Nintendo, well, we'll do Nintendo. So you got the cartridge, right? So it's in your Nintendo. If I got a Nintendo, the game I'm playing, I got a different level. So just because we playing the same game don't mean we're on the same level.
Mm,
Mhm.
So my struggle might be different than your struggle. And you're like, man, I'm going through this, whatever. But we not on the same level though. So I can't fully understand what you going through, and you can't fully understand what I'm going through because even though we in the same game, we're on different levels. Now I
Yeah.
might tell you, if I identify and figure out where you at, then I might tell you what's to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm on level 5, then like, oh, I'm on level 3. Okay, cool. Look, when you get to level 4, it's gonna be some they come around.
right,
Some fire
right.
gonna shoot out right here. You got to jump. You got to double jump over here, and so that's and I think that's where the conformity comes from because we feel like even though we're playing the same game, we're on the same level with everybody else. And some of the people we might be looking at on levels below us, and we don't even know.
Mhm.
Mm,
No, that's good. That's a good visual. Even though we're playing the same game, you know, we at different levels. Um, and and your, the way you were describing it, you wasn't competing.
Right,
One person was helping the next person as they made it further. And so
right.
that's a great example of what we talk about with our progress. If I'm ahead, I'm still got one of my hands behind me trying to pull somebody else up. And
Mhm,
just like you got to have that other person in front of you, feeding you information or pulling you ahead as well. And, that helps you be comfortable with your own uniqueness or your
mhm,
imprint.
mhm,
And that's just like, you know, life in general. You know, life is a game. There's rules to the game. There's different levels to the
mhm.
game, and you just have to know how to play it. The only difference with life is you don't have a reset button. Can't you can't get to a hard part in the game and then decide you want to get mad and hit the reset button and start over. That's
Right,
that's the only problem. Cause you
right.
know, playing the video games, man, I never forget a couple times, man, playing with my cousin or whatever, getting whooped and Madden or NCAA or something like that. You get mad and
Uh,
you go, then you go hit the reset button.
yeah.
But in real life, you can't do that. That's not how the game of life was
Mhm,
created. So
mhm,
so yeah, you just have to keep working so that you can get to different levels in life. And um like you said, T, I may be on a different level, but and if you're a couple levels below me, I know what to tell you. I know what to tell you. I know tell you to look out for this because just when you get to this point, this is coming right at you. So yeah, you just have to you know keep going.
Yeah.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Oh, I'm gonna say this, man. I know Kendrick got something, but what Jeff was saying made me think about it. So I had an angle I was gonna use, but now you changed my angle. You gave me a different angle. So you talking about reset. All right. So then we still working with the video game analogy. So you have lives, right? And
Yeah.
so the lives are not valuable unless you use them. So all of us have life, but doesn't mean that we're living.
Yeah.
So if we have a life and if we're in the game, the life is only valuable unless you use it and live it. And so some people, like in the game, you stockpile live, you like get the little extra, the mushroom and whatever like that. What's the use in gaining all these lives and you not using them?
Yeah.
Hmm. Hey, isn't there? Well, there's no cheat code to get unlimited lives though. So
Not in
not
real
in
Yeah.
life.
real life, not in real life at
Yeah.
least. Because
But
Yeah.
yeah, there was a cheat code. There was a cheat code, but I think that's where a lot of people are at. They they don't know the difference. Just because we have life doesn't mean that we're living.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I talk a lot about existing versus living.
Hmm.
Grass exists, but living is action oriented. But I'm gonna go back and jump back to the visual that Jeffrey was painting
Hmm.
with his picture. And so what Jeffrey was describing is how people discover or find their uniqueness or their fingerprint through that process. He was, showing people how they find or discover their uniqueness through that process. And it's trial and error. Trial and error. Some people quit, but if you unwavering in your efforts to reach your goals, then you keep trying, and you don't give up on you, and that's how you discover your unique qualities. That was a question I wrote down when we first started. How do we discover our unique qualities? And Jeffrey answered the question with his description of his answer.
Yeah, I think I got a couple points I want. You go, good. I'm trying to decipher through where I want to go because I know we got about 10 more minutes. So I'm gonna hit back on what Jeffrey was saying about the reset button, not having the reset button in real life.
Mm,
Um, and I think because we don't have one, well, I'm not saying we don't have it in the context of how the name is. So
mm,
our reset looks a little different. Our reset doesn't necessarily wipe everything away, but we can have a certain reset as far as what we feel like as our imprint. And so I think that aspect is good to focus on because a lot of people feel that they've already lost so much that they want to reset. It's like I just want to start back over. But I think kind of giving a more real perspective is that you can reset, but it's not necessarily to wipe away. The
mm,
reset is to kind of get back in alignment. And I think that's what people need.
mm.
And
Okay.
I kind of want to hit back on what you were saying about having unlimited lives in the game, but
Hmm.
you're not living. The visual that I got was okay. Yeah, I can have the cheat code to get the unlimited lives,
Hmm.
and I can have them. But what if I put the controller down?
Mm.
Nothing's moving.
Yep.
So like kind of going back to what you're saying, it doesn't matter if I have the cheat code to get the unlimited lives if I'm not living. If I put my controller down, I can't navigate the game.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean yeah, you can have unlimited lives, but you have to keep the controller in your hand and you have to keep playing
Yeah.
in
And
order
then,
for those lives to be valuable.
Yeah, that's good. That's good with the controller because then you got to think about too, and like we were talking about earlier about being in the pack versus being separate. So it is some games that you got multiplayer games, and you were talking about before. And I got a cousin that used to be like that. You used to get you mad. You play the
mhm,
game on the good stuff. But it's a difference when you playing with somebody and playing on your own, and you
mm,
got your controller. And so it nothing more frustrating than when you playing the game and somebody try and hit the controller or hit some while you playing and you get mad because you like you messing me up. Get on, man. Like let me play the game. And I think for a lot of us, that's where we are. Is we trying to get to the path we're trying to get to, and people trying to get control of our controller.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
that battle of I know this, I need to have control of it right now, but it's other people around that's trying to mess with us while we're trying to play. Uh,
And I was just sitting there thinking, going back to that, like I said, you getting beat in the game or whatever. Like I said, my cousin, like I said, they used to whoop me. He'll, he went to Alcorn, and so on the weekends, he'll come home, and on Fridays, the first stop he normally would make is my house, so we can play the
mhm.
game. And so after getting beat a couple times, I just sit there during the week practicing. Cause I'm ready for him to come back home. Come on,
Yeah,
come on Friday, come on. So come in, and it got to the point I got pretty good because I kept practicing.
uh,
And I
yeah,
used to get him every Friday. And so Friday and Sunday. So when he came home on Friday, we used to play, and on Sunday before he left and go back to school, we used to play. So he got to the point where on Fridays I got him. On Sunday, I used to send him back to Norman with that L. And I say that because instead of getting mad and hitting the reset button every time you lose, you have to keep practicing. You have to
hmm
keep going. So that way, when that big obstacle come at you, you know what to do. You know how to handle it.
hmm
And so, that's one lesson that you can take away from that is, no matter what, you keep going and you keep practicing so that,
Yeah.
you know how to defeat your obstacle.
No, that's
So,
good.
so my last question would be this, and it kind of jumps to what you and Terry's been talking about. What's your lasting imprint? And so that's to the people that's watching us. What's your lasting imprint, or what do you want your lasting imprint to be? What fingerprint or what mark do you want to leave, on this world? Um, yeah. So that's my question.
That's for us to answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Uh, I guess for me, I want my imprint to be um almost I want to be a foundation. I want to leave a foundation for people to either build upon, stand upon, or to be heard. Uh, and I believe our progress will be part of it, but it's creating things that then other people can then add their piece to. So I do feel like my imprint will be one that allows others to leave theirs. So it's almost kind of like if you have uh, like a sheet of paper or something like that, that you can imprint into, or kind of like have something to kind of press down into it. Like I want to have a large sheet of paper that then allows a lot of other people to leave the imprint. Um, if that made sense.
Nah, it makes sense.
Let's see. I kind of go back to what we talked about uh, Thursday.
Mhm,
In the end, winning. I guess the imprint that I want to leave is learning how to win, learning how to overcome your obstacles, but showing other people how to win also. And so I
mhm,
think that's something that that we are all working on right now is, like I said, in the end, we still win. But I want to show people how to, uh, you know, the process to actually winning, how to
Mm-hmm.
overcome, and that that just not winning, not on field of play or something like that, but that's winning in every area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and like I said, that's a everyday process of learning how to overcome obstacles or situations, your own emotions or feelings or whatever. You know, just every day, just winning.
No,
Okay.
that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Kendra, you already said yours?
Say, I thought y'all gonna let me off the hook.
Oh man, how you gonna ask me questions you ain't gonna answer? You better come on, man.
Hey,
Answer the
I,
question. Look, had us thinking and stuff like that. Then you
I,
can step out because it's almost time. Now you can answer the
yeah,
question.
I had no intention of even answering it. I just thought I was gonna throw y'all out a head scratcher and be like, oh, okay.
Look, we thought we do that. We throw it back to you. We throw it back to you now.
So if I guess my imprint, you know, I want my pursuit in helping others becoming better, but embracing the uniqueness, which is their gifts within, that it helps them connect with their purpose. So you know, if I see myself as a talent scout, but we always talk about how most talent scouts use people gifts and talents for their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help people identify their gifts, talents, and uniqueness, so they can align with the path or purpose for their lives. And if I can help people uncover that with as many people that I reach, then I think, you know, that legacy or imprint will speak for itself.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I guess we are at the end of our discussion today. Hopefully everybody that's watching, you've enjoyed it. You learned some things. I think we learned some things. It made me want to pull out an old Nintendo or something and play some video games.
I know, right?
but hopefully it was something that we said, anything like that, or some insight you had that was beneficial to you today. Like I said, we take notes. Hopefully you have a chance to take notes or rewatch it or share it with somebody. Yeah, I got about 2 pages of notes. So hopefully, we're giving you things that are adding to your life, and we welcome you to watch us. Um, Join us on Thursday in the Take the Journey group. I think this week, I know Kendrick was talking about it. I think we're gonna do it live on the page too. For those of you that
Hmm.
missing out on this good Thursday, I'm telling you, I've been missing out on Thursday. But we'll do it live on our Facebook page this Thursday too, as well as our Take the Journey group. Also, we are recording. We do have a YouTube channel, so you can watch these on YouTube as well. We don't have all of them from our Facebook Live, but we do have a good library of them right now. So if you want to, you're on YouTube, you can search our progress. It is another one, but our logo, so look for our logo, and then you'll be able to subscribe to that. Um, Anything else I missed? Anything else I need to now talk about?
No, I think you got it.
Okay.
No. So I just want to say, we for everybody that's been watching, or if you're watching this replay, we do appreciate you. We do thank you all for taking an hour out of your time on Mondays and Thursdays to come and listen to us. And like T
Yeah.
was saying, hopefully we said something that you know at least make a small difference in your life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's all that we're trying to do. So hey, we appreciate all of y'all. We love y'all, and
Hmm.
Hey, have a good day.
Yeah. One last thing. So we are looking for a name for our Take the Journey group followers, members, whatever like that, or just people who follow us. We're looking for a name for you, and we want you to get involved. We don't have mail in here. You can mail do the promo for that, but we are we are. If you just go, make a suggestion. You can comment on our page or in the Take the Journey group about what you want to be called. Uh, then we'll take the top 5 of those, and then once we choose, we'll do a poll. Once we choose the number one name, that person will get a free copy of Dr. Kendra Bailey's relationship journal, and also will get a free excavation session with me. So look, just make a suggestion. It's free. You get a free relationship book and you get a free excavation from me. It's free 99. You just can't beat it. I'm just telling you, we're trying to bless your life now. All you gotta do is make a comment with a suggestion. That's all. Come, you got Facebook friends, you got whatever. Just get people to, make some suggestions. And we're gonna try to do something good for you now. We're trying to give away some stuff free. So please do that. We do want to build this community. We really want to build it. We got a lot of ideas of how we want to go forward, but we want you all to have a name. So then, you have t-shirts and everything else. You could wear it and all that kind of stuff. And we have t-shirts too. So yeah, it's a lot more stuff we want to do with the community. So please, just do that for us. We won't ask much. Please, just do that. That would bless our life. Please do that. If
Uh,
you don't do nothing else, you don't do nothing else today, please do that. All right. I'm through on the soapbox now. I'm done.
all right. And we'll see y'all again on Thursday. So enjoy the rest of your day and see y'all on Thursday.
All right.
Mm.
All right.